Oi, oi, welcome back to the Martinliedtke channel. Got a clue for you here today, guys. Clue to resets and many questions from this post. What I found is an article from the Alexandria Gazette, and it's dated May the 28th, 1816, and it's concerning the state of Rome. Well, let's have a look what the state of Rome is and what it can tell us at this period. The state of Rome. Alas, rude fragments now lie scattered where the shapely column stood, her palaces at dust. Rome, June the 10th, 1813. I was at Rome in the year of 1791. The city then contained 160,000 inhabitants. The luxury and equipage and livery were considerable. In many of the great houses, the foreigners were met with hospitable reception, and everything would indicate a great and opulent capital. I entered the city this time by the same road, but instead of carriages, I was met by droves of oxen, goats, and half-wild horses, driven along by black-eyed herdsmen armed with long pikes, muffled up in their coats. They looked like Tartars. The dust raised by these cattle filled the air. These herdsmen, with their charge, seek every evening within the walls a refuge from the pestiferous atmosphere of the environs. They take possession of the quarters and palaces which are abandoned to them by the population in proportion to its diminishes, and is crowded together with an unwholesome air in the centre of the city. The Porta Populi and the Transtiberine quarter and those of the Quirinal quarter and the Mountain of Trinity are already deserted of their inhabitants. The country people have settled there. The population of Rome is reduced to 100,000 souls, and this number includes more than 40,000 wine dressers, herdsmen, and gardeners. Extensive districts of the city are transformed into villages and are occupied by rustics, driven in the insalubrity of the atmosphere of those former dwellings. Such a prodigious depopulation in a short space of 22 years is almost unprecedented. The political environment of the period have doubtless contributed to much of its diminution, but the principal cause must be sought in the general relation of Rome and its effects of its noxious atmosphere. This scourge is every year making a fresh encroachment. Every year overspread streets, places, and quarters, and every year its baneful influence must argument, because it acts like an inverse ratio to assistance opposed by the population. The fewer the inhabitants, the greater the number of victims, and every funeral is an avant-courier of many more. That period, therefore, is probably not far distant, when this queen of cities will be completely shone in her splendor, but nothing be left of her but that glorious name which time cannot destroy. A traveler will then find that Rome does at a Valteri, naught but a vast collection of monuments, palaces, and ruins of every age. The marks of near approaching destruction are impressed upon every part of Rome. As there are many more houses than inhabitants, no person thinks of repairing their own home. It becomes ruinous. He seeks another elsewhere. To mend a door, etc., would be deemed labor thrown away. They would tumble down as they fell, as they left lying. And in his man, a number of convents are now transformed into ruinous shells, and many palaces have become uninhabitable. No one takes the trouble even to secure their own doors. This abandonment, this Tartar population filling the streets with their cattle already present striking characteristics of decay and ruin. amid this neglect of private buildings is a strong anxiety for preservation of antiquity, and time has spared its observation. The government are carrying out works upon extensive plan according to which, those of which are partly covered in rubbish meaning more, are to be cleared and to be connected and grouped. That these precious relics shall be presented and viewed once picturesque and agreeable, or the environs of the Vatican, with the exception of the main street connecting it, likewise abandoned to herdsmen. And I was particularly struck with the desolate appearance early one morning when I set out to visit St. Peter's. The sun had just risen when I reached the great square, and the doors of the cathedral were still shut. Profound silence everywhere prevailed. Except in the distance, I could hear bells and cattle returning from their pasture. Not a man was to be seen, and arrived in the forecourt without having met with one human being. The coolness of the morning and the tints of the dawn infused an inexpressible charm over my enchanting solitude. I beheld the temple with its colonnades and the sky before me, and I have had my mind so deeply feel sublime magnificence of nature at this moment of separation between day and night. At length the door of the church opened, and the bells announced opening day, but in vain. Did their sound summon the Christians to their devotions? Not a soul came to implore the blessing of heaven. This temple, the most splendid monument in the world ever raised. There's a tiny bit more here, concerning St. Peter's. The divinity of the temple already stands in a desert. The grass grows in its forecourts and moss springs upon its walls, and is already relates the glory and its magnificence of the past ages, and prepares to proclaim the future generations the piety of the times of which it was founded. So I can share this link with you. So what we can make by that is the city of Rome is almost deserted. So it's got 160,000 people in 1791, and it's had a depopulation to 100,000, 40,000 of which are for wine cellars. So the population has gone from 160,000 to 60,000. So there's 100,000 missing people. The city is in ruin. He doesn't know what happened. It was a glittering place. So can I presume from this that a reset has happened between the years of 1791 and the year of 1816? Possibly. Mind blow? Let's have a look at some photographs of Rome. Not long after 1816, 1859, these are the earliest photographs of Rome available. And you can see the splendor of Rome, but devoid of any population. Excuse me. Fantastic waterfalls still in action, I've noticed. This is the Trevi Fountain. They say if you've chucked money in the Trevi Fountain, you're destined to return to Rome. And that is, in fact, true, because I threw money in the Trevi Fountain and I returned afterwards. So the water is still pumping from the old Roman plumbum, PB, the old Roman columns. Everything is caked in dirt, I notice. So you can see ghosts here, there's ghosts of people that on carriages. So there are a sparse population, but considering in ancient times, this city had a population of over 1 million people. And then you get to the turn of the 1800s and it's only down to 60,000. Where did the population go to? And such a great civilization go to? And he also suggests in that article that the fall of Rome was only a short time ago. What have I been saying, guys? And isn't there an interesting time as well? 1813, I've proposed, that there was the War of 1812 in America, the Comet, New Madrid, Napoleon traipsing across Europe, only to find Moscow empty. just like Rome is empty. So I'm not the only one that is onto this case, guys. Look at the state of this. It looks bubbled, it looks heated, blown. Rome was not 2,000 years ago, because it's all still there. And apparently the rubbish, I wonder what he means by rubbish. Does he mean dirt when he says rubbish? So a lot of the remains that you see today were under mud until the 1930s, because Benito Mussolini decided to dig it all out, clear it all up and make it visible again. But in 1856, they hadn't gone through that undertaking. The ruins of Rome are just that. Stinky old ruins that nobody even cares about. I think that's the Constantine Arch. A little bit of Roman graffiti down there. But yeah, devoid of any population. Everything is caked up. There's no car pollution. I always wonder in antiquity what's making everything black and covered in shit. Excuse my language. But there's no car pollution. I don't think it's the Industrial Revolution. I'm not sure they got massive steelworks outside of Rome at this period. But yeah, mind-blowing little column there. Many, many questions as to why Rome is devoid of its population. Where they gone? Where's that many people disappeared to in short space of time? And how has it fall from opulency to this sort of thing in, 22 years, 2 decades? Maybe the same thing happened to Rome as what's happening to Britain. I did see a film once that suggested that the population of Rome had been gassed and taken out. I find that interesting when he talks about this noxious stuff. You know, maybe it's to do with that, depopulation, some noxious gas or something. Or maybe even a rumor of it that was being spread at the time. Who even knows? Bread and circuses. Of course, if they keep everybody on bread and circuses, the Romans, and fighting with one another over religions and causes and belief systems, etc., then they won't be fighting them. So they keep everyone at odds, and then the heat doesn't come down to them, the true people who are to blame, the ones that made it all happen and tricked us into it all when we didn't even know we didn't have to consent. Wow. Shits. So yeah, Rome, your people, amazing monuments. This is in the center of the city. You can see a bit more going on. Really high windows as well over the doors. You'd have to be like 10 foot tall to look at them windows. Excuse me. Strange they got a shed halfway up the cathedral wall. One can only wonder what that is all about. So yeah, tell me what you think in comments. That's a bit of a mind blow, especially with the dating and what we talk about on Flat with British concerning resets. And the fact that there's been a depopulation in Rome, according to that narrative, and all them other Tartars. What are Tartars doing on the streets of Rome? Anybody? All these piles of poo everywhere, this stuff. What is it? This is St. Peter's Square. Yeah, this is supposed to be St. Peter's Basilica. It's supposed to be like that guy just said, the best bit of antiquity. And the Vatican itself is actually a star fort. They need a fortress to protect themselves. And I seen this dome myself for the first time from a train window, and I was like, wow, that's big. Before I got there. I went there on an Easter Sunday, but I got really, really wasted before I got there and actually didn't get there till late and missed everything. A million people coming to see the Pope and stuff, which I wasn't really into anyway, which is why I did that. Make an excuse to not go and see the Pope. There was a million people there when I went. It was just like, what? So they say, wobbly columns. This is a technology. Driving and amplifying chi energy. This is why they spend so much time in the cloisters thinking, decoding. These things aid decoding. I'll talk a little bit about that this week. So yeah, Rome, devoid of people, and not too much better off from that article from 1816, is it really, guys? Beautiful palaces all left to rack and ruin, but incredible about the moss and the dirt and everything, you know. It's blackening. It's just craziness. Anyway, if you want to find out about, oh, this one's a bit buried as well. If you want to find out a little bit more about the antiquity of Rome, what it looks like when it's covered in what that guy regarded as rubbish, look at Piranesi. Giovanni Piranesi is the best engraver I can possibly think of. Ooh, tunnels. Oh, yeah, if anything happens on the way to the forum. But I did enjoy it there. There are cats running around, little forum cats, and you could pet them. They were lovely forum cats. Apparently, the same cats have been there since Rome. And this thing here, I went in here as well. Ooh. But they did have a little village in here at one stage, and also graves, and also Wild Bill's circus. The Indians stayed in here as well. But yeah, nobody actually gives a toss about the Colosseum at this period. And as you can see, in the modern day, there's a big motorway or a road going round here now. But in them days, no one give a damn. No one give a damn about the antiquity of Rome. It's just been pushed in the modern era because it's a good, profitable business model for togas and Roman films and endless books and endless everything about Rome. This roof on top of the Parthenon is supposed to be 2,000 years old. It's supposed to be the most advanced concrete. It's like inches thick at the top and it hasn't piled in. All them earthquakes, all that weather, 2,000 years. So yeah, still looks a bit wrecked. It's a bit wrecked there too, but still, no peopleage, massive statues. Can't even imagine what the Roman Empire must have looked like. There's the massive aqueducts bringing the water down to Rome in ancient times. From the aquifers, probably up in Tuscany, probably coming down that far. Pure aquifer water from underground. Clean water. And structured water. They had structured water. They must have been fantastically healthy with their food and their stuff and their cool water. Yeah, man. They had it going on. Okay, look at that. Way to protect a waterfall fountain. Just put all a load of railings around it. See, I think that's a part of the technology as well, I do. So, Piranesi, you can see him here. I'll give you the link if you want to go through it yourself. They're absolutely beautiful. I've got loads of videos playing music and stuff about Piranesi, but you can see he engraved in the 1700s, early 1700s, what he saw when he was in Rome. And many say, "Oh no, it's just his fantasies." No, he was engraving what he was seeing, and believe you me, he's seen some incredible things. This is how I discovered circuit board cities was through Piranesi when he showed, well, basically a circuit board for Rome. This was back in the day. You can see some of these things do look circuity. So let's have a little look at some of the Roman antiquity. Look at this. This is obviously his interpretation of what Rome would have looked like, but unless that's actually what he was seeing. Pyramids, great palaces. Wow, can you just imagine it? Interesting, that thing there, wherever it is. So yeah, let me know what you think in my comments, please, concerning this. I think it's quite I'll share this link with you. There's another one I'll share with you here from excuse me, Piranesi, but this one is absolutely beautiful depictions. As you can see, the heyday of Rome with the theme of Ovid, the Ovidian theme, which is very beautiful and very interesting to behold. And the gardens of Rome, and the date on this is 1620-ish. They say they don't know, but around this time, and after when that guy visited, he reckoned everything was all right. Look at the star fort here, guys, and that's the Vatican. Charlie, yeah, ginormous star fortage, and all the gardens and everything had completely gone by 1812. What happened? Is it what's happening to Britain now? Is that what happened to? Is that what happened to Rome? Something really bad happened, guys. Sounds like gassing or something. Some poisonous, noxious stuff. It's built on a swamp, isn't it? Just like just like Washington and St. Petersburg, part of Rome. So maybe noxious gases from the swamps. Interesting, though, that the population had disappeared. Look how they did have it, though. Just unbelievable. Look, there's a couple more. And I'm going to dive out. I'm going to be back in a day or two. I've got another couple of posts to bring to you. Look at that star fort. Wow. Star footage. Stunning, stunning. So yeah, they had it all sorted, and then, as you can see, it all went downhill. If you want to find out how everything about Flat Earth British, you can find it all out on my website, which is linked below. Some nations, books, my archives, my videos, which there are plenty of. Make sure to come back, subscribe if you want to see more juice very, very soon. And I thank you for sharing, liking, and subscribing to this channel. Much love to you all. You are awesome people. See you soon.